Hello everybody, on today's video we're going to explore a new technology that has been intriguing me lately. It is an idea that's going to change the way we think about people living in coastal cities, and I'm talking about oceanic cities, also known as seasteading. I've been wanting to make this video for a while since I first read about it a couple years ago in this book, The Future is Faster Than You Think by Peter Diamandis and Stephen Kotler. I thought it was a fascinating idea, especially because I thought there was no way this could work, but it really makes sense when you think about it and how the ways climate change is going to make the sea levels rise with glaciers melting and all that. But I have a lot of criticisms and concerns about floating cities and other things that I thought made a lot of sense and were really interesting. So today we're going to go over all of that and just speak about what these things are. So as reference for the information in the video, I'm going to use the chapter in the book that talks about them, and also the information from the websites of two of the companies that are kind of planning these cities, which are Oceanics and the Seasteading Institute. So without further ado, let's get into the video and analyze all the amazing things about floating cities. So let's start the video by analyzing Oceanics floating cities. In Oceanics, the base of the city consists of perfectly symmetrical triangular sections. Each could be dedicated for different purposes, including recreation, residence, or agriculture. You could build all kinds of houses, hotels, schools, movie theaters, and parks. On the roof of the buildings, we see solar panels, which will supply most of the city's energy. These buildings can also scale, creating larger connections with other triangular pieces, spreading out in a hexagonal pattern. These sections are chained to the ocean floor to prevent movement against the force of the ocean. These chains are made of biorock, a strong material that passes a low electrical current that prevents corrosion, and also builds up minerals that allow artificial coral reefs to be created. In every plan for these buildings, the intent is to make them 100% sustainable, relying on clean energy and processes with agriculture and waste management. The most interesting aspect of the cities are the way they grow food. Largely plant-based agriculture that uses systems such as aquaponics and vertical farming. This was pretty cool to see, as I made an entire video about this last year, and by using circular economies, waste management and resource use can be very effective in these floating cities. Even though the cities are separated from the mainland, people will still be able to travel back and forth through boats and bridges. In the future, we might even have flying vehicles that could transport people and goods. Diamandis and Kotler explain how proximity is the key for the value of a property. If we could have these floating cities in the coast of cities such as New York, San Francisco, or Hong Kong, it could change the way people think about where to move. And as we will see soon, it might be necessary. So, what would be the reasons for moving into a floating town in the middle of the ocean? The book lists three main ones. The first one is rising seas. A painful reality is that we might have to consider the creation of these cities as a response to rising sea levels. In 2017, 40% of the world live in coastal areas. That is nearly 2.4 billion people. This means that they could be displaced, as stronger hurricanes and rising tides create a humanitarian crisis in unbelievable proportions. One of the biggest effects of climate change has been the melting of glaciers. Over the last few decades, they have been slowly disappearing due to the rising temperatures in the atmosphere. This means that there is more water in the world's oceans. We need to start thinking about the effects of these drastic changes on human populations. It is also important to come up with practicable solutions, and this might be one of them, but we also have to be open with new and more innovative ideas. The second reason will be skyrocketing populations. As we head towards 10 billion people by the 2050s, we're going to need a lot of space. And as people keep expanding into land, more of its resources, natural areas, and trees will disappear. About 3/4 of the Earth's surface is empty ocean. A solution will be expanding in that direction, especially as land cities grow with regions that are further apart from the busy and important downtown areas. Seasteading can make the most out of space while ensuring this option is ecologically sustainable. The third reason they list is threatened ecosystems. These floating cities will be designed with an ecological future in mind. They will be carbon negative and energy positive, aimed at making human populations a net gain for the environment. An example is through the artificial coral reefs we saw before. The ideas and possibilities behind seasteading are endless, but we need to make sure that they're a good investment for humanity's future. A good way to do this is to have every single angle covered. So now we're going to go over some of the problems that I noticed while discussing the idea of seasteading. So my main concern with seasteading has to do with emergencies. I can imagine it would be hard to evacuate a lot of people in the case of a fire, a hurricane, a flood, an emergency of any kind. That would be a thing to think about because, getting people off this island would be something that would be logistically hard and something to consider. This reminds me of a way of the Fire Festival. For those of you who don't know, Fire Festival was a failed 2017 music festival where a lot of people got stranded on an island, and I could imagine this would be 1,000 times worse, especially with families living there, children. So I think it would be a lot of topics to cover in this emergency scenario, but still something we should take into consideration when discussing seasteading. I was initially concerned with waste management and water pollution, but according to Oceanic's page, they integrate closed-loop water systems aimed at preventing pollution within the compounds, and more importantly, the surrounding ocean. Another concern I have is their protection against hurricanes and heavy storms. As we have seen in coastal cities every year, hurricanes can be incredibly destructive. It is different to prepare for a hurricane on the coast than it would be in an ocean city cut off from the mainland, as well as repairing them after the storm. And the future is faster than you think. They mentioned that these cities will be, quote, flood-proof, tsunami-proof, and hurricane-proof. Oceanics also claims this, with the bi-rock chains being durable enough to withstand all of that, but I still have some concerns. In all of the promotional design pictures, we see the floating cities resting over calm tides, but we don't know how heavy a sea storm with giant waves could impact them. If they're truly hurricane and tsunami proof, they would need incredibly strong foundations, but my main issue is with the buildings themselves on top of the bases. How can we guarantee that the crops, buildings, and infrastructure will remain safe during and after an intense storm? It is one thing to have a stable base resting on the ocean, but the glass, wood, and concrete buildings on the top are a different story. They could all be wiped out with a 10-meter tall wave hitting the island. This is the question that made me the most skeptical about ocean cities, and I really hope that they have every angle covered, as the consequences of these storms and waves could be disastrous. Also, I couldn't find much information on what the actual cost of these cities would be in order to build and maintain them, and like all the new green technological innovations, it is easy to fantasize about all the utopian possibilities, but in reality things cost time and money. A New York Times article on the subject explains that in 2017, it was announced that the Seasteading Institute would start building their first ocean city near French Polynesia in 2020, and that the government already let them do it. Some sources started reporting on this, however, as of 2022, there has not been any updates or news about an ocean city being built there. It does mention that the project would cost around $60 million for, quote, a dozen structures by 2020, including homes, hotels, offices, and restaurants. The book, published in 2020, even cites this article, but also pushes the date another year to 2021 without an explanation. So this makes me skeptical about how soon we will see these projects in practice rather than theoretical frameworks. But I hope that as the years pass, we will see more discussion about this being an option. And also we have to realize that it's important to see how much these things will cost and how practical they will actually be in order to combat climate change. Because it is important to recognize that we can get lost in like the utopian fantasies and all that, but we have to recognize that there has to be a realistic aspect to oceanic cities. Overall, seasteading is very interesting to me. I was impressed like how many topics it incorporates into one single idea. So researching this, I found a lot of things that I didn't know about, including about ecology. There's a lot about this topic to learn, and there's even a book from the Seasteading Institute that I might check out in the future. As of today, these cities don't exist yet, and the plans and ideas are all theoretical. But what is real is the displacement that will occur from the rising sea tides and the disastrous effects it will have on, the human population. Billions of people living on the coasts might be displaced, so it is inevitable that ideas like this one will come about. So it is important to consider it as just one part of the overall picture that is fighting climate change, providing ecological solutions for the future, and generating new technological ideas. So what do you think? Would you ever move to a floating city? Let me know in the comment section. So thank you all for watching this video once again. Get ready for a lot more content. I know I haven't been posting lately, but I'm going to begin to make more videos. I have a lot of ideas down the line, so be prepared for that. And I guess that will be everything for today. So if you like this video, if you like learning about seasteading, check out my other videos on the channel and all the cool stuff. So anyways, that would be everything for today. I'm Grant from Tomorrow Matters, and I'll see you next time.